So, a little bit about me. My name is Lewis Ward. I was born in Gulfport, Mississippi. I have four brothers, a little brother, and three older brothers. And I want to give you a little background on my story and how I got here. So, everything started with me back in 1985. My mother dropped me off at my great grandmother's house so she can go and try to provide a meal for four hungry little boys, soon to be five. So at my grandmother's house, I remember as soon as I got there, I went straight for the weave basket with all the chips. And as I'm opening the bag of chips, I hear a stern Mississippi voice. "If you don't put my chips back, boy, where your money at?" That was my great grandmother, and also the lady that taught me all about business. So after fussing at me, which seems like forever, she reminded me that I had change in my pocket that my mother had gave to me earlier. So she sat me down, helped me count my little change, and then made me pay for the bag of chips that I already opened. But then this happened. A little boy swings the door open, grabs a handful of candy, which was probably only one or two pieces, but I didn't care, and went straight out of the door. He didn't pay anything like I did, and I'm thinking to myself, did he just steal something from my grandmother? So I run out the door chasing after him, and before I know it, I'm being drugged back in by my ear by my great grandmother. And it was at that moment I learned that my grandmother didn't play about her customers or her visitors. That same little boy, parents didn't have money for food, and she knew that. And my ears still burn every time I think about that day. So she would sell snacks, freezer cups, chips, and different items to the local community, and I would help her. And that was my first introduction to business. But not long after that, my grandmother would pass, and her last moments were spent passing out poinsettias to the people in the local church. And where the people in the church said that she peacefully fainted, and that was the last time I spoke with my grandmother or saw her. So at age 5, my grandmother taught me 3 lessons that I still use today. Number 1, business is a mutual transaction between 2 people. So when I went in and grabbed that bag of chips, she wanted to teach me that, hey, in order for this to be a win-win situation, I have value and you have value, and we must trade to make that work. Number 2, finances is a tool that only works once you learn how to use it. And she taught me that by showing me how to count money. Number 3, customer service is all about protecting your customers. So when I ran out to attack that little boy for stealing her candy, she was there to remind me that that's her customer and they had a mutual agreement, no matter if it was paid or free. So always protect the customer. And lastly, spend your last days doing what you love. So let's fast forward to 1994, my first encounter with gun violence. This happened so fast and could have cost me and my friend our lives. But there was an argument, someone got upset and started shooting. I fell back, my friend ran forward, and he got shot in the leg. So let's fast forward to 1995, the encounter with my mother. So it's 1995, I'm gasping for air because I just got off the bus. I was sprinting to get home. This was also the best month for the year, at least for kids going back to school. That day was the day that I would go shopping for my own clothes. So I walk through the door and I'm super excited, but I hear a strange sound. And I get closer and I can hear my mother crying. So I swing open the door. She tries to play it off and drop her tears. And she tells me, hey, you need to go and get dressed. Your grandmother is coming to pick you up so you can go and get some clothes for school. So I'm shopping at the mall. I got all of the shirts and pants I need to impress my friends. And once I get done, I finally find my grandmother. And she immediately tells me that, hey, you got to put most of that stuff back because I only have a little money and I have enough to get you a pair of shoes and maybe one shirt. And I was devastated. So I kept the shirt. I went and got some shoes that would match my brother's clothes because I'm like, well, I'm going to have to wear their clothes again. And that's when I realized things were getting a little tighter. And soon later, my parents would file for bankruptcy to be able to manage the bills that they had. And the big lesson that I learned from that is that poverty is silence and it creeps at you. So you have to invest your money. You have to invest ahead of time, even when you feel like you don't have it. But at that age, there was one thing that I could invest in. See, my mother, she would always buy me books. And so I started looking for books about finances and money and wealth. And that's what kind of got me on started, budgeting and learning how to do those things. I started trying to pick up little side gigs like cutting yards, started working at a very young age. Things started getting better at that point. So from 1995 to year 2000, I was a part-time student and a part-time worker. And I struggled a lot with school because growing up in poverty is things that distract you from being able to focus on school. You're kind of rushed to grow up, and this has a lot to do with the environment. The one thing that I can say is me having both of my parents, my mom and my dad, made the world of difference, because I would see my friends that didn't have their parents, they would struggle a lot more than I would. And a lot of my decisions came from things that I picked up from my friends, because I didn't have to drop out of school, but I did. I got my GED. My goal was to enroll in college. So after doing the job thing, 5 years later, it's 2005, I decided to roll into college. I was working, so I got an apartment, and that's where I was headed. Right before school was supposed to start, Hurricane Katrina hit, and now my plans were changed. A year later, in 2006, I would lose my father to heart disease and the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. In 2009, I finally got back into college. I met this professor that was a Mason, and he kind of taught me about what most people would call secrets of Masonry, and mostly how to thrive as a black man in America. So I learned a lot. He taught me how to build things. He taught me how to make my own soap. He taught me how to lay carpet. He taught me how to lay tile, and just things that men need to know. In 2013, I meet my future wife. She's taught me so much about how to treat people and how to have decent conversations with people. And I consider her my life coach. In 2015, we decided to move to Texas because of all of the redlining trying to start a business. And we just didn't want to deal with that anymore. So we moved. I was working offshore at the time, and that's what I did. Once we moved, I stayed there until 2019. I wound up leaving, and that was when I finally started my business. And that business was Wealth Benders, and it started off great, but you know what happened? COVID hit, and I just never got it off of the ground after that. In 2021, I finally got married to my beautiful wife. In 2022, I foreclosed on my childhood home and my rental property. Later on that year, in December of 2022, I wound up filing for bankruptcy. Right after the bankruptcy, I wound up landing a job with Southwest Airlines, which I'm still there today. And I started that job in January 2023. And that's when I restarted the mission that my grandmother had sparked in me over 35 years ago. And that mission is to make wealth accessible to the rest of the world. In May of this year, I started my financial company, Lewis Ward Financial, which is part of my mission. And today, I'm more consistent as ever. I feel great about life, and I'm accepting all opportunities. Hope to see y'all soon. Thanks for watching this video. I am a little camera shy, but we're working on that.